at you from the 37th parallel on America's haunted highway. It's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
Is it time to go? It's a go time. Time to go downtown, kill a clown. Okay, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Pixelated Paranormal, episode 200. No, 330. Holy crap, man, 330. Wow. Anywho, my name is Sean. I wore a hat for this episode, and by God, I think I'm falling back in love with the WWE and professional wrestling. Shayla and I just got through watching SummerSlam, had a really good time, and I think I'm getting the itch, buddy. I think I'm going to start watching wrestling. And with me, as always, speaking of buddies, is Preston. Preston, how are you, buddy?
Man, I'm doing good. Got my daughter situated in her room, got all of her creepy shit hung up on the wall. She's really, ecstatic to have not be the Harry Potter kid and be living on the hallway anymore. So it's always good. Got lights.
Hell yeah, man.
Was the audio working this time? Because last time
I just double checked. Yeah, we're good. I know we had 10 minutes last time. No one's gonna ever hear that gold unless they go straight audio.
And so my son got dropped off today. His mom's going out of town for something. I don't care. I just get my kid for a week, which is cool. And he came up the stairs, walked through the bedroom door, and he's like, "What's up, you old piece of shit?" And I never felt more loved in my whole entire life. Like, that is our language of love right there. I'm just like, oh, he gets it, the little fucking dick bagger.
Yeah, dude, I gotta say, like, you from my vantage point have a pretty good relationship with both your kiddos, man. And I'm very happy for you with that. That's pretty awesome stuff. Even if your son does try to come in and tweak your nipples when we're playing Xbox late at night.
I know. He pinches my nipples a lot.
What did you just do? Are you chewing tobacco?
I am. So that way I don't have to vape. Because Joe's always complaining that when we podcast that he can hear like D&D, like, well, you used to play Xbox all the time. First of all, fuck you. You're a racist wizard on the game, so I don't think your opinion should be valid anyways. But,
right.
He did say that when he used to play Xbox with us, that the vaping was very loud. And so I know that I'm thinking of you, actually, because, you have to edit. And I feel really bad that you have to like spend an extra 15 minutes editing out my vaping noises. So you don't want to put a little nicotine pouch in the upper lip. I'm good to go, dude. I got nicotine. I got a little speck of hen. So
yeah, you are.
My kid's probably going to give
geezer.
Me my back to my kid pinching my tits all the time. My brother and I used to give each other titty twisters when we were kids. We always do. What's worse than a Texas tornado? Titty twister. And my mom was really good about lying to us to get us to stop doing things. So Jason used to pick his nose and eat his boogers when he played baseball. So Mom told him that eating boogers would cause stomach cancer. And he's like, fuck it. I'm gonna pick and eat. And then I used to chew my fingernails a lot. Gross. And so she told me that chewing my fingernails would lead to stomach cancer in hopes that it would stop. And then she got so annoyed that we would sit there and like titty twist each other all the time that she told us, she's like, boys, I was watching Oprah the other day, and Oprah said, now this is no joke, Oprah said that the number one cause of titty cancer is titty twisters. And you all better stop pinching each other's titties or you're going to give each other cancer. We were just like, Mom, this fucking Oprah's bullshit. And so Blake, if you're watching, stop twisting the nips, son. You're gonna give this old piece of shit titty cancer. That's what I'm saying.
And on that note, what's up, Jeremy M? Jeremy's watching with us live. What's going on, buddy?
Oh shit! Shit,
good
dog!
stuff.
I'm about to see you in person in like 3 weeks. I hope you're fucking prepared, buddy. We're gonna be out in the fucking Arizona heat, knocking back beers with cousin Kenny Poo.
Mm-hmm. Now, is cousin Kenny Poo Jeremy M, or is this two separate people?
No, Jeremy N is friends with cousin Kenny Poo.
Oh, okay, sweet action. Good deal. Good deal. All right, yeah, cool, man. Titty twisters all around. I like it. I love it.
Yeah, buddy. I want to fucking just me and Jeremy first time meet. Urka, Jeremy. And grab a hold of them nips,
just blew
boy.
the speakers again, buddy. You just blew the audio. Oh man. Well, this episode originally was supposed to be called Conspiracy Files number 4. But due to the subject matter, I felt it very disrespectful because the conspiracy side of this is like, 10 cents inside of a $20 bill. So we decided not to call it a conspiracy file, but it is a very interesting topic. And in light of the current modern-day space race, after sharing some current space exploration news, on this episode, we're going to look back on the ill-fated Apollo 1 fire and the series of unfortunate events that plagued American astronaut Gus Grissom and ultimately led to the unfortunate death of the Apollo 1 astronauts.
Dude,
I
still think it's a conspiracy theory. I think mine ties in. I think NASA, never a straight answer. The logo for NASA is the fucking serpent. It's the devil's logo. They're lying to us, fucking bastards. Probably shot JFK.
NASA killed JFK. I love it. Well, yeah, the good news is if you're here for the conspiracies, Preston will put the doorstop at the end of this episode with a really ridiculous conspiracy theory. So before we get to that, let's start with some interstellar news, shall we? It's not every day that NASA approaches an artist, musician, or otherwise, and asked which planet they'd like to beam their art to. But just a few weeks ago, NASA collaborated with none other than Grammy-winning rapper, singer, songwriter Missy fucking Elliott, and they sent her song "The Rain," aka "Super Duper Fly," all the way to Venus. You don't like Missy Elliott?
No.
God damn it. After 9 years, this is what separates us. This is what kills the show and tears us apart, is your disdain for Missy Elliott.
If NASA would have said, like, we're going to beam Purple Rain into outer space, maybe give me some Prince.
He's dead. Doesn't count.
Give me some Michael Jackson, like the king of,
he's dead too. Fuck
pop. That's great. But you're like Snoop Dogg. Like, let's put like a real rap god in there. But fucking Missy Elliott is like dollar store
shit,
music trash. Okay, that's it.
I just wish I could end the stream right now.
90% of them that are making music nowadays are all trash. Like my truck automatically when I start up in the mornings, it'll go to 96.3, and I have to hear like Doja Cat. All that other fucking garbage, well, wet
dude,
ass.
Missy Elliott's an OG.
Get the fuck out of here with that, right? I want to rip my ears out.
Oh no.
So. Oh yeah.
Well, okay,
Raven Young, right there on Facebook. Fuck yeah, Prince would be cool. That's words that. Fuck you. You lost this battle right there. 2 people for Prince.
Prince would be cool if he wasn't fucking dead.
Shut up.
Just kidding. I like Prince as well, man. Prince is fucking awesome. But dude, I love me some Missy Elliott, and how dare you compare Missy Elliott to fucking Doja Cat? She's an OG, man. She's been in the hip hop game for years. She and Timberland. Been hot since 20 years ago. But if you're like Preston, who has horrible taste, and you're trying to figure out why Venus, well, the answer is pretty simple. It's Missy Elliott's favorite planet. She said, I choose Venus because it symbolizes strength, beauty, and empowerment, and I'm so humbled to have the opportunity to share my art and message with the universe. The song was transmitted across...
The Venusians, they're on a different dimensional wave, so Venus in our reality was a fucking shithole with like acid rain and like nobody can survive on that. But when the aliens go through their interdimensional portal to get through to our reality, the tall Nordics and the hot blondes, those motherfuckers are on Venus. They inhabit Venus on a higher dimension, and it's like a beautiful paradise. So I mean,
Oh, really?
yeah, so that's probably why she did it. And they're just like, God damn, why couldn't we get Prince? We're fucking hot Nordic
Well,
blondes. We're 6 feet tall. We're gorgeous, and we have to listen to this trash. God, I'd rather have Dave Matthews. That's what they're saying right now. They're like, I'd rather have some Dave Matthews than this shit. Fuck what?
I'll take it,
Nickelback.
dude.
All right, we could have got some Nickelback. Come on,
Dude.
guys. God damn
Silver
it.
Side Up fucking slaps. I'll die on my fucking hill
Oh.
defending that album. And also, I think you just kind of made the thing come full circle and answer the question, why Missy Elliott and why The Rain? Well, one of the key lyrics is, I can't stand the rain. And if you're sitting there complaining about the acid rain, it just fucking makes sense, dude. I think she was ahead of the game way before we ever thought about this.
Mm.
Anyway, the song's been transmitted across 158 million miles, that's 254 million kilometers, at the speed of light by NASA's DSN, that's the Deep Space Network. The journey took about 14 minutes to complete. More specifically, it was transmitted by the Deep Space Station 13 DSS-13 radio dish antenna at the DSN's Goldstone Deep Space Communications Complex in sunny California. Fittingly, the station's nickname is also Venus.
Dude,
Brittany Brown, director of NASA's digital and...
We've confused the universe so bad right now because, like, we televise in, like, the first Olympics, and so you have fucking Hitler, like, 9999, and then they're just like, the fuck is this racist shit? And then all of a sudden, like, it gets past Venus, and then they're like, we go from Nazis to Missy Elliott, like, Earth, don't go there. Ugh.
Yeah, never mind, folks. It's a lot like Venus. It's fucked.
Yeah, nothing to see.
Brittany Brown, the director of NASA's Digital and Technological Division, said that both space exploration and Missy Elliott's art have been about pushing boundaries, and Missy has a track record of infusing space-centric storytelling and futuristic visuals in her music videos, so the opportunity to collaborate on something out of this world is truly fitting, and to that I raise this glass of coffee milk stout and say, fuck yeah. And fuck you, Preston.
You're like, oh, they should probably fucking do some Stone Temple Pilots up there. Maybe some fucking Primus. A herp-a-derp-a-derp.
Oh, yeah, dude, fucking Primus. Oh, I know this big brown beaver. Dude, those aliens would get fucking wet over that song.
And they truly would have a wet-ass pussy. Speaking of music and wet-ass pussy, have you listened to Weird Al Yankovic's new polka song?
Is it the one about the conspiracy theory and the Illuminati? That video just popped up on my news feed the other day, and I was just like, "This is fucking amazing." Yeah,
that's funny. No, it's a song Weird Al just released. It's one of the polkas where he just throws in a bunch of lyrics from a bunch of pop songs, and he features wet ass pussy, but he has sound effects of like water dripping, a donkey, and a cat meowing. Pretty good shit.
Wow.
Anyway, up next in Washington, 55 years after the first moon landing, NASA and its leaders are preparing for the next mission to the moon. That's right, folks. We find ourselves once again in another space race. Artemis 2 is scheduled to orbit around the moon.
Can't go to the moon.
Damn it, I'm losing you. I'm losing you. Artemis 2 is scheduled to orbit around the moon no earlier than September of 2025, but right now NASA is transporting one of those rocket stages for the mission from New Orleans to Florida. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson says, "We're not going back to the moon just to go, because we did that 50 years ago. This is part of a much bigger mission." The primary reasons for the delay include SpaceX's outlook for developing Starship, the gargantuan rocket and spacecraft system that's expected to ferry astronauts from lunar orbit to the moon's south pole. 2 Starship test flights back in 2022 did, however, end in explosions. So, let's work the kinks out, folks. Anyway, Nelson said, next, after Artemis 2, its follow-up mission, Artemis 3, will be scheduled to launch no earlier than September 2026. Planning to land on the moon's south pole. Nelson also said, if there's water in abundance, then we can create rocket fuel. And oh boy, what an extraordinary thing. We're going back to the moon, to the South Pole, to learn, to live, to create, to invent, so we can go to Mars with humans. NASA's Artemis missions will use the Space Launch System rocket with the Orion capsule, where they said the capsule will take the astronauts into lunar orbit according to NASA's mission plan. NASA officials added that they are also expecting delays in engineering to the spacesuits the astronauts are going to wear while on the moon's surface. Both SpaceX's Starship development and the spacesuits were factors in the government's watchdogs, including NASA's Inspector General, who have all cited as potential factors that could cause delays for the Artemis 3 mission. SpaceX lander will take the astronauts to the surface of the moon. It's almost like we're going to a different moon. There's a constant shadow in any depression-like crater. As a result, you'll have to be a very precise individual to calculate the landings. House Science and Space Technological Committee passed the NASA reauthorization bill out of committee this month. Committee Chairman Representative Frank Lucas said, "It's the first comprehensive reauthorization bill for NASA in more than 7 years." Now, to wrap this up, NASA is targeting a 2028 target for the launch of the Artemis 4 mission, which will then aim to send astronauts to a forthcoming space station that will orbit the moon called Gateway. Lucas and other members of the committee warned about the adversaries in a 21st century space race, however. "We need to do all we can to ensure the U.S. remains the leader in space." Just last month, China returned rock samples from the far side of the moon. They're also pursuing land base on the far side. See, guys, China has already led a robotic return to the moon in the 21st century, launching the first uncrewed lander to ever touch down on the moon's far side, and plans to put its own astronauts on the lunar surface by the end of the decade. China's government and leaders. China's government said leaders want Chinese astronauts on the moon by 2030. Now, the humanitarian in me says, why the fuck can't we just get along? And, I don't know. The answer to that's probably pretty simple, but... Anyway, Presto, with all that being said, did you hear about all this drama about the International Space Station and how apparently there's been 2 astronauts stranded up there for damn near 60 days due to this massive series of miscommunications and unexpected delays?
Boeing and Spirit with your bullshit engineering and you're cutting corners so you can line your pockets with monies, you fucking CEO pieces of shit. Okay, continue.
Well, that's how you really feel.
Yeah.
Press is just saying what we're all thinking. So this story came about 5 days ago. It's been nearly 60 days since Boeing launched the Starliner on a mission to the International Space Station. Unfortunately for astronauts involved, Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore, problems with the Starliner turned what was supposed to be a 10-day trip into a multi-month ongoing ordeal with no actual end in sight. Now, allegedly, they could totally return to Earth anytime they want, but NASA and Boeing just is trying to be really extra cautious because apparently these delays have caused the Starliner to go more than $1.5 billion over the original budget. That, and they also have to maybe think about the 2 astronauts' lives that are currently at risk as well. But first and foremost, money. Right. That's how you get space ghosts, man, and not the good kind.
Yeah.
But that $1.5 billion.
Russia already did this shit. They fucked up on the one capsule and they had 3 astronauts in and fucking decompressed like mid-orbit, and it was fucking floating around outer space for like 30 years and then crash landed like 10 years ago, and they had like fucking soupy, freeze-dried astronauts parts, and it was all gross. It was just floating up there for years with dead bodies in it. So there's already fucking Russian ghosts up there. Might as well add 2 Americans to it. Fuck them.
You might as well, man. But there's nothing worse than fucking soupy cosmonauts. Am I right? Could that be the alternate title to this episode? Soupy cosmonauts.
It's like freeze-dried, chunky Campbell like meat soup in a space capsule. That's probably what that looked like. Like,
You didn't go for like beef stew. You just said meat soup.
yeah,
Gross.
yeah, chunky
Soylent
meat
Green.
soup.
Campbell's Chunky Soylent Green. It's people, but it's hearty. Anyway, speaking of $1.5 billion, that's not including the original $1.5 billion it took to develop the Starliner. And I guess Boeing's original fixed price contract with NASA said they could knock the job out for about $5 billion. Anyway, ever since it won the contract back in 2014, due to several unforeseen factors, Boeing has posted a loss on the project every single fucking year, and sadly, it's also probably safe to assume they'll have a lot of other challenges and repairs to make whenever it eventually gets back to Earth, which will set Boeing back even farther. But even when they were prepared to launch, the Starliner was far from perfect. It was originally supposed to launch back in May, but just 2 hours before the launch, a NASA contractor called on the agency to ground the spacecraft, citing several risks for disaster. Then you fast forward to June, just a month and a half ago or so. NASA thought the Starliner was ready, but upon launch it ran into more issues with helium leaks and several faulty thrusters. The good news for both Williams and Wilmore, though, is they shouldn't be in any intermediate danger because NASA does keep a reserve of supplies on board the ISS just in case something unexpected happens. Starliner Flight Director Chloe Merhing said, "The integrated teams between Starliner and ISS worked extremely well together this week to finalize and safely execute the docked hot fire sequence. Both teams were very happy with the results." So according to Boeing, it plans to conduct a flight test readiness review later this week. A return date has yet to be announced, though, but the aerospace giant claims, quote, opportunities are available throughout August. So hopefully they brought a couple jigsaw puzzles. Holy shit. Well, that brings us to our main topic of the night. Speaking of U.S. space missions plagued by technological and mechanical issues, let's get into our penultimate conspiracy file and chat a little bit about the rumored Apollo 1 murder. Now, stay with me. Also, a healthy disclaimer here. This episode is not in any way meant to dishonor or make fun of any of the astronauts who lost their lives during the Apollo 1 mission. And also, just because we share these supposed conspiracy theories.
Croots 1 says, "Oi, what's up?"
What's up, buddy? Just because we share these supposed conspiracy theories doesn't mean that we believe in them or we necessarily even think they have much merit. And if you don't believe me, just wait for Preston's little end segment here, and you'll know what I'm saying. But sometimes these things are a little interesting, and I should also punctuate this by saying I don't think any of this Apollo 1 fire stuff or the Gus Grissom business was any kind of conspiracy, though I'll tack on the very end why some people think it might be.
I don't know. I'm starting to get on the edge now. I am like
because your hat's getting smaller.
I am one Bud Light away from being like a flat earther. I mean,
I'm one Bud Light and one Missy Elliott song away from ruining this podcast. Oh, man. Well, even though this one's predominantly about the gut-wrenching events that took place back in 1967 with the Apollo 1 fire, the story starts off a little farther back with another one of the great mysteries of the early space age. How exactly did Mercury astronaut Gus Grissom, after a near-perfect flight as just the second U.S. space mission astronaut, inadvertently blow the escape hatch prematurely on the Liberty Bell 7 capsule, causing it to fill with water and sink to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean?
So,
dear listener,
premature ejaculation.
I'll give that one to you, buddy. I'm going to give that one to you, but you're on thin ice. So if you're a lot like Preston here and you don't quite remember what I'm talking about, or maybe you're a little fuzzy on the details, let me fill you back in here. 60 years ago, the U.S. government made the first suborbital flight as part of the original space race with the Soviet Union. Back on May 5th, 1961, with Alan Shepard at the helm, it became the first American in space. aboard the Blue Origin spacecraft, which was aided by an Army Redstone ballistic missile. Although Shepard's accomplishment was overshadowed by the Soviets when they shot up Yuri Gagarin into orbit just 3 weeks earlier, still a massive success for the good old US of A. But then a little over a month later, July 21st, 1961, Virgil Gus Grissom flew the second NASA Mercury Redstone mission. Only this trip, even though it was nearly identical to Shepard's, almost ended in disaster, almost taking the astronaut's life. See, after the mission, Grissom's capsule, called Liberty Bell 7, sank after the successful splashdown to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, and Grissom came close to drowning himself. The 6 Mercury flights from 1961 to 1963 produced several nerve-wracking moments, but Gus Grissom's was the only one that came close to killing an astronaut. Now, it's got to be said here that Gus Grissom was an absolute fucking badass. He was gruff and rough around the edges, compact, a real working-class kid from Mitchell, Indiana, who used the GI Bill to become an engineer.
Citizen. Nothing said American.
Dude, the guy just fucking... He just fucking did the damn thing, man. He used the GI Bill to become an engineer, then a fighter pilot, then a test pilot, and fuck me running a fucking astronaut. So yeah, hats off, rest in peace, Gus. He flew 100 combat missions in Korea. He was picked as one of the first 7 astronauts back in 1959, where he made it the furthest into the cut of the final 3 who would make the initial orbital flights for the U.S. space exploration.
Anyway, don't make them like that
on the
anymore,
fateful...
do they? God damn.
No, they don't, man. We have fucking TikTok and fucking shin splints and, yeah.
Ooh.
Anyway, I digress. On that fateful day, mid-July 1961, after 3 weather-related postponements, Grissom finally got to fly. But there were still 2 major differences between the Mercury capsule that Grissom piloted and the Freedom 7 capsule flown by Shepard. The Liberty Bell 7 had a window over the astronaut's head instead of the 2 small portholes, and the hatch that could be explosively separated from the capsule for a quicker escape was also different than the one from the Freedom 7. Anyway, around 8:20 a.m. Eastern on July 21st, Gus lifted off from Cape Canaveral, Florida, and he reached a velocity of 5,134 miles an hour, that's 8,266 kilometers per hour, when his Redstone shut down just as planned, and the Liberty Bell 7 then separated. Now, Grissom coasted down weightlessly up to an altitude of about 118 miles. Then his capsule began to descend. Now, we're riding back down to Earth once the capsule began re-entering the atmosphere, even though the deceleration was brutal, reaching 11 times the force of gravity. Everything worked as normal as planned. His capsule parachutes deployed, landing Grissom in the ocean 15 minutes and 37 seconds after liftoff. Boom, everything's gone off without a hitch. But not after splashdown. See, this is when things suddenly go tits up. The plan was for a Marine helicopter.
I think our buddy Jordan is also watching, Mr. Ace.
Oh, no shit.
Like, what's up? What's up, buddy? How are you? Hey,
hey, Jordan, what's up, man?
Something just popped into my head a second ago when I said they don't make them like they used to. Remember the other day when we were talking to an individual about our time running Tough Mudder, and you were like, we had these all-American boys that were like running the course with us and blah blah blah, and they're like real meatheads. Like they're the type of guys that go to like, the fucking YMCA and they're like, ugh, they're like pressing the metal or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, that's Matt. Brianna's husband. What?
It's just nothing but Matts, dude. No, yeah, Minecraft Recruits is Matt as well. It's just it's a fucking room full of Matts. Sorry, guys. Our buddy Jordan goes by an alias of Ace of Spades, and so we just kind of assumed it was him. Anyway, sorry, Matt. Sorry, Matt. And sorry, Matt.
Sorry, Matt. So, these fucking meatheads are all like, oh, we're going to run this race. And about halfway through, you hear like this loud scream, and these fucking meatheads are like laying on the ground because they didn't have enough potassium. Maybe they didn't eat their nanners in the morning. and this 65-year-old lady, and I bet you dollars to donuts, tits up, this lady was born during the time of Gus Grissom, and she just fucking plowed right through all of us. Yeah, they don't make them like they used to, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
No. I'm thinking she was about 70 years old, because when I'm sitting there, you and I are on the ground and we're trying to push Eric up over this 10-foot wall, and I'm looking up at literally his mud-covered testicles because we wore short shorts that day. I think she was about 70 years old, and she flew up that fucking muddy 10-foot wall, straddled the top, and looked down and said, "Come on, you pussies!" Then gave us a wink and a smile, and then just took off like a fucking greased bat out of hell. And then at the end of the Tough Mudder, she stopped us and apologized and said, "Sorry for calling you that word, guys. I was just trying to keep you motivated." And we were just electrocuted. My left hip came out of socket and 1,000 other fucking problems. And we're just like, "Sure thing, lady." Sucking down our third fucking Dos Equis Ambers. Anywho, I'll digress again. The plan, anyway, for Gus Grissom was for a Marine helicopter to fly into the ocean and hook onto a capsule to recover it safely, and then lift it out of the water a little bit, only a little bit, so Grissom could then blow the hatch off of his capsule and safely climb out, which would allow him to then get into a horse collar sling and be pulled up to the aircraft. To be able to hook onto the helicopter, to be able to hook on, the helicopter crewman had to snip off a very long recovery radio antenna that had to be deployed from the cylindrical nose of the capsule. But much to his surprise, as the crewman reached down with the extension cutter, like those used to trim tree branches, the hatch of the spacecraft below suddenly blew off, which wasn't at all how they planned for the astronauts' rescue. And now they knew something was amiss. Seawater began pouring over the hatch rim, and Grissom, who had armed the hatch and removed the restraint on the plunger to trigger it, claims he never initiated the explosion because he had already taken off his helmet and rolled up the neck dam to keep the water from getting down his suit once he climbed out. But again, in the series of unfortunate events, he also forgot, or maybe didn't have time, to close the oxygen vent on his torso, on his suit on the torso. So when Grissom instantly threw himself out of the hatch and swam away from the sinking spacecraft, his suit also instantly began to fill up with seawater. And then, much to his dismay, the helicopter crew, thinking it was okay, just followed their training and moved in to hook the Liberty Bell 7. But because the water was flowing into the capsule at such a heavy rate, it made it entirely too heavy for the helicopter to pull out of water, and at one point, trying to remove the capsule, they actually had 3 wheels of the helicopter in the water. The pilot's engine overheated, warning them, and suddenly they unhooked Liberty Bell 7, and the crew watched in horror as the capsule slipped beneath the waves. Because, see, part of the drill here was not only to rescue Grissom, but also to rescue and secure and bring back Liberty Bell 7. Anyway, meanwhile this is going on, Grissom found himself slowly sinking to the bottom of the ocean as well, because the oxygen hatch was left open, and water was leaking into the inlet of his spacesuit, and so he gradually got lower and lower in the water as well. Being blasted by the rotor wash, Grissom waved frantically to the helicopter, and as Liberty Bell 7 sank, the crew caught wind of Grissom slowly lowered down the hook. They slinged him and pulled out the wet, exhausted astronaut out of the ocean. Then immediately afterwards, an investigation took place, and several nasty rumors spread that Gus Grissom had panicked in his landing in the ocean, skipped his safety rescue protocol, and triggered a hatch himself, thus sinking Liberty Bell 7, costing NASA a shit ton of money. However, he repeatedly testified that he just sat there waiting on the capsule to be pulled out so that he could then, engage in the rescue part of his plan. Then he claimed the hatch suddenly blew off on its own, with the explosive bolts designed to open up during the ocean recovery somehow malfunctioning and opening on their own accord. Even though he was ridiculed for jumping the gun, his NASA colleagues, by and large, believed him. Later on, I think his name was cleared eventually, after his death, because one of the biggest pieces of evidence in his favor was if he had hammered that hatch on his own, he should have really big bruises on his palm, and his palms were literally unscathed. Any hoozle, let's jump forward to the fatal Apollo 1 fire. Apollo 1's crew and many of the astronauts disliked and distrusted the Block 1 design of the Apollo 1 spacecraft, mostly due to its faulty wiring, bad software, leaky valves, and a dozen of unresolved technical problems. I think one of those things would make me distrust anything, including NASA's mandate that the Apollo capsule should possess pure oxygen atmosphere, aka they wanted to pump the actual capsule full of pure oxygen. This choice in part was due to the fact that it's less technically challenging.
You think Boeing designed the Liberty Bell 7 on the Block 1 design?
I bet you a nickel they designed a lot of shit.
Yeah, NASA doesn't
I bet you a nickel they designed a lot of shit better back then. No, I don't think they do, buddy. The choice to fill the compartment with oxygen was due to the fact that it would be less technologically challenging than arranging for an Earth-like oxygen-hydrogen mix. But as many of y'all know, it also possessed an extremely dangerous fire risk. Anything in the spacecraft that accidentally caught a blaze would explosively burn. Truly a devil's bargain. Anyway, Commander Virgil Gus Grissom, America's second man in space, was joined on Apollo 1 by senior pilot Ed White, the nation's first spacewalker, and then rounding out the crew was pilot Roger Chaffee, an engineeric rookie. The plan was that they would fly a 15-story Saturn one-block rocket into Earth orbit in late February for a 2-week shakedown of Apollo's myriad systems. Just a quick test drive, But Grissom harbored scant faith in this ship, branding its design as sloppy as unsafe. Even the simulators never functioned properly when they were supposed to, with ever-changing software and hardware modifications to the spacecraft being made around the clock. And so, days before their mission, Grissom and his crew took a mocking photo with their heads bowed in prayer, hopeful that the space gods might conjure some fortune, and they titled the photo underneath, "It's not that we don't trust you, we just decided to go over your head," basically giving a black eye to the NASA brass. When a journalist asked what would make Apollo 1 successful, Grissom unsmilingly retorted that getting his men home alive would be good enough. That night before an unpowered plugs-out test of Apollo 1 that took place on January 27th of 67, fellow astronaut Wally Schirra pulled Grissom aside. He also hated the Block 1 design and said, "If you get the slightest glitch, get out of there. I don't like this." On the afternoon of January 27th, clad in spacesuits, the crew boarded Apollo 1 capsule, perched high atop the Saturn 1B. Then immediately Grissom noticed a strange odor, like soured buttermilk, but air samples revealed nothing outward or strange. So the heavy two-piece hatch was then sealed, followed by the rocket's boost protective cover, and next pure oxygen was pumped into the cabin. And eerily, just like before, this ship's hatch also caused several headaches of its own. You see, a third-party manufacturer known as North American wanted a single-piece inward opening hatch, fitted again with explosive bolts so it could quickly be opened to an emergency. But NASA was fearful the bolts would misfire while in space, and they nixed the idea. Because basically an inward opening hatch also meant that cabin pressure would help tightly seal the actual hatch during flight, but also the design also made it hard to open even when on the ground. And even during simulations, the super tight-fitted hatch needed 2 full minutes just to crank the hatch ajar. Anyway, the Apollo 1 test went badly from the outset. A high oxygen flow indicator repeatedly triggered Apollo 1's master alarm. A shitty telecommunication between Grissom and the astronaut Stu Rusa next door, who was seated just one blockhouse next to him, caused tempers to fray. They couldn't get a good communication just through their fucking walkie-talkies, basically. At one point, Grissom even got boisterous and said, an unvarnished audible claim, "How are we going to get to the moon if we can't even talk between 2 or 3 buildings?" And to help Rusa with testing was also seated next to him Deke Slayton, fellow astronaut. Then the test took an even worse turn, and seconds after 6:31 p.m. Eastern, Slayton saw something odd on his monitor. He noticed an image from the camera pointed at Apollo 1's circular hatch window. Instead of being a dark circle representing normal temperatures in a cool cabin, the screen was illuminated almost white. And suddenly, the crew's biomedical readings skyrocketed, indicating an oxygen flow in their spacesuits. Other sensors detected a brief power surge, and then came the first call from inside Apollo 1. It was Shaffy's voice, one word. He screamed, "Fire." Now the calls came thick and fast. "We've got a fire in the cockpit," Shaffy yelled. "Let's get out, we're burning up." His transmission ended with a scream that was blood-curdling, both in the brevity and the agony. Downstairs on the launch pad's first floor, technician Gary Probst looked at his monitor and saw white arms raised above his head, fiddling with the hatch. Probst wondered if he might have been trying to open the hatch. Why didn't he just open it? But to do so, White would have needed a ratchet release and multiple bolts. With only seconds available before the fire and smoke claimed his life, he scarcely had time to loosen one single bolt. It made no difference, though, because fire hungrily gored Apollo 1 as pressure seals on the hatch with immense force. No man on Earth could have opened it under such circumstances. Would-be rescuers claimed to be beaten back by incessant waves of heat and what pad leader Don Babbitt called a heavy, thick gray smoke. Very billowing, but very thick. No one could see far beyond the end of their own nose, and 27 technicians would be treated that night for smoke inhalation. But the real horror came when rescuers reached Apollo 1, 5 minutes after Shaffy's initial shout. The command module, dimly lit by flickering flashlights, was a scene of devastation. Grissom, White, and Shaffy were all three dead. None had suffered life-threatening burns, however, because they all had succumbed to asphyxiation first. Investigators found the fire likely sparked underneath Grissom's left footrest, near some unprotected or chafed wires. Thus being fed by pure oxygen, with the Velcro pad, nylon nets, and polyurethane panels adding extra fuel to the inferno, the fire took hold. At such pressures, being bathed by pure oxygen, wrote Grissom's biographer Ray Boomhauer, a cigarette could have been reduced to ashes in seconds. As an epilogue to the tale of sadness, the fire, as history remembers it, came close to derailing America's lunar goals. After Grissom and Shaffy were buried at Arlington and White was laid to rest at his beloved West Point, recriminations began. North American aviation's poor workmanship, NASA's poor oversight were mauled by press and public and lawmakers alike. And over the next year, however, Apollo was suddenly reborn, literally like a phoenix from the ashes. The spacecraft cabin was repressurized with a 60-40 mix of oxygen and nitrogen. All flammable materials were removed, and a new single-piece hatch was then installed that could be sprung open in seconds with the push from an astronaut's pinky. Aluminum plumbing was replaced by stainless steel, coolant pipes were armored with high-strength epoxy, wire bundles were encased in metal, and nylon was replaced with fire-retardant Teflon, and paper being minimized to almost nil, including reading material. No books or magazines were also allowed in the Apollo 7 in October of 1968. They also said nor could we take anything made of paper to play with, such as playing cards or even puzzles. The Apollo fire remains to be one of America's darkest moments, arising from an insatiable go fever that perversed prioritization of schedule over safety, a cruel lesson that would be repeated during the Challenger disaster on January 28th of 1986, and also the Columbia disaster following on February 1st, 2003. But if a grain of optimism could be salvaged from the Apollo 1, it's this. Without Grissom, White, and Shaffy's sacrifice, there's a high improbability that America could safely reach the moon. And that surely is a legacy which they can all take pride in. But the real conspiracy here kind of lies, and I'm just going to barely touch on it because it's also pretty fucking shitty, is a lot of people believed that somebody had it out for Mr. Grissom because of being so boisterous. You know, they still believe that he had sabotaged the Liberty Bell 7. They still believe he popped the hatch, and they still think that he ran his mouth way too much about the hatch on the Apollo 1. That, with a lot of other slander towards NASA, a lot of people had believed that somebody had it out, and sadly, Chaffee and White were just the collateral damage. I couldn't find too much more about that. I think it's kind of shitty. Unfortunately, part of me, the tinfoil hat part of me, could be like, yeah, you know what? I mean, I could see the argument for it. Do I think it's really a conspiracy theory? Not really. What do you think, Presto?
Yeah, I think it's a conspiracy theory. I think it all ties back to flat Earth. You know, NASA's covering it up.
Christ on a cracker. Yeah, I mentioned the Challenger explosion, and I mentioned you had a fucking batshit bonkers conspiracy that I don't think we believe. But go ahead and lay it on us, buddy. Bring us home.
Yeah, so there's the conspiracy theory claiming that the 7 astronauts who perished in the 1986 Space Shuttle Challenger explosion are still alive and living in the U.S. today, and it has intrigued many since it's resurfaced in May of 2015. On January 28, 1986, the Challenger tragically disintegrated 73 seconds after launch due to a booster engine failure, resulting in the loss of all crew members, including teacher in space Sharon Krista McAfee, mission commander Francis R. Scobie, and other notable astronauts. Nearly 30 years later, the theory emerges, suggesting that these astronauts faked their deaths and are now living under new identities. Proponents point to individuals who bear striking resemblance to the original crew and sometimes share identical names, igniting speculations about their true identities. For example, Commander Francis Richard Scobie, who was 46 at the time of the explosion, would be 75 today. Notably, there is a 75-year-old A. Richard Scobie, CEO of a marketing firm in Chicago, who has been cited as resembling the late commander, which raises questions about the odds of such a coincidence. Okay. You're thinking, wait, what? Sean, you've got the podcast.
I thought, wait, what? When you told me you had a conspiracy about the Challenger exploding.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Look at the screen right now. On the left-hand side of the screen, we have Francis Richard Scobie, commander of the Challenger. On the right, we have a 75-year-old Richard Scobie, CEO of Cows and Trees Limited. What do you think? Very similar in appearance. Looks like the same person. Kind of eerie.
He does have that weird eye thing going for him. I'll give you that.
Okay. Dude, one down. Let's see what we got.
Fuck's sake, I don't want to.
Now, supporters of the theory assert that the lack of substantial public knowledge regarding these alleged lookalikes until nearly 30 years later indicates a cover-up. They argue that if NASA had indeed orchestrated such a deception, it would require a level of planning and secrecy that only NASA could fucking do. But it seems implausible, especially given the high-profile nature of the original crew. But it's not just Richard Scobie. No. The theory goes further. It highlights the existence of doppelgangers for several of the astronauts. For instance, Ronald McNair's brother Carl shares a resemblance to him. So, right there. There it is. Look at that. Dude, fucking, like, it's two of the astronauts, twins. Look, Ronald, Carl, same fucking person, man. It's unbelievable.
God damn it. You give anybody fucking Photoshop and Preston's getting half a chub over here thinking, oh my God.
Oh my God, man. Yeah. Also, Ellison, goddamn Japanese name. Ellison Onzuka has a brother, Claude, who looks strikingly similar. All right, here we go.
I got no fucking comment.
Oh, no, I didn't put that one on there. All right.
Oh, now you're just overtly racist without any proof.
Yeah. No, I just said the Japanese names because we always fuck them up. Like, you figure after 330 episodes, because we love Japan so much and we cover Japan so much that we would be able to nail the shit out of a Japanese name. And they're by far the hardest fucking name to just nail. And I just get embarrassed every time. I'm just like, God damn it. God damn it.
I just revel in the fact that you said a Japanese man and I saw a white woman flash on the screen.
All right. So anyways, let's go back to the images. Let's go back to the images. All right.
Okay, yeah, take me back.
Yeah. Judith Resnick, Challenger Mission Specialist. Judith Resnick, who would be the same age as the Challenger Mission Specialist is now, who is a Yale Law professor. Look at the uncanny resemblance. Real fucking person in real life on the right. Doppelganger of the person on the left. I don't know what's going on here. It's really weird. Okay. Mm-hmm. Lady on the left. Somehow this picture got backwards, so I can't read the name. Sandra A. McGaffey.
Oh, it's fucking... Yeah, it's Stephen Azuki. It's Zuki.
Yeah. Okay, look at that. Right and left. Dude, compare them. Same fucking person. This weird doppelganger thing is just, wow. Okay, but hold on. Further complicating the narrative is the assertion that there are no records of the Challenger crew in the Social Security Death Index, the SSDI. Proponents use this to argue that they must still be alive. However, if you're a Scully, you're going to say, well, the SSDI is not comprehensive, and records for at least 4 of the crew members can be found within the database. Ugh. Anyways, in summary, the conspiracy theory about the Challenger astronauts suggests that they are alive and living under new identities. It is laden with circumstantial evidence and relies heavily on coincidences. The arguments presented often lack concrete substantiation, making a compelling yet ultimately unproven narrative. However, why all the fucking conspiracies with NASA? Well, that's because flat earthers believe NASA is engaged in a cover-up regarding the true shape of the Earth for several reasons. So any NASA
fucking flat
conspiracy
earthers
is going to tie back to fucking flat earthers. So why? Well, number 1 on the list, distrust of authority.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah, many flat earthers have a general distrust of government. Fuck the fucking government. And you know what?
Here goes Preston doing his own fucking research.
Yeah, and scientific institutions. Fuck science. Science, they're a bunch of liars. They often view the organizations like NASA as part of a large conspiracy to control information and fucking manipulate the American people. Perception of evidence. Flat earthers will argue that the evidence presented by NASA and outer space agencies, such as photographs of the Earth from space, are fabricated or altered. There's no such thing as a round Earth. Neil deGrasse Tyson once said that the Earth was more pear-shaped than it is round. So why do we have photos of a round Earth? They claim that these images are created using computer graphics and that that the curvature of the Earth is not visible from high altitudes. Fucking lies. Personal observation. Okay, me and you, we could go out right now, bud. And that the flat earthers emphasize personal observation over scientific evidence. They argue that when standing on the ground, the Earth appears flat. And they question why they should trust scientific explanations. Why science? Why believe in science? Alternative explanations. Flat earthers often promote alternative models of the universe that align with their beliefs, because fuck science again. They may assert that the Earth is a flat disk surrounded by a wall of ice and that space travel is impossible or exaggerated, which aligns with their beliefs that the NASA missions are fabricated, so they had to blow up the shuttle. They had to kill Gus Grissom because people were going to find out that they were wasting the American money. Community and identity. Flat Earth movement has created a sense of community among its followers. Believing in a NASA cover-up fosters a shared identity and purpose as they see themselves as part of a group uncovering the truth against the mainstream narrative. Like, we don't currently have that in our society. I mean, I don't want to say make America great again, but I mean, goddamn.
Goddamn, no, you don't.
Yeah, I mean, like brother and sister, flat earthers make America great again. You two could have a baby. What would we come up with?
I don't need flat earthers having anything to do with fucking making Earth or anything great again. Goddamn, they're making it worse.
Make Earth flat again. There we go. Flat earthers often express skepticism toward scientific methods and principles. They argue that scientists have ulterior motives or the scientific community is biased against alternative viewpoints. Like that map that I sent you that the fucking Nazis made with the ice wall
Mhm.
and fucking all the different shit crown in it, and the guy had to circle dot swastikas because we can show that on YouTube, but we can show a make believe map. Anyways, overall, the
Goddamn
belief
right.
in a NASA cover up is rooted in a mix of distrust, personal experience, alternative explanations, and a desire for community among flat earthers. So there you go.
Mhm.
Challenger doppelgangers? I don't know. But like I said, I'm one Budweiser away from I believe the Earth is flat. Yeah.
All right. Well, I suggest you go with something a little stronger again, like a Dos Equis Amber. Maybe even crack open a good old fashioned Guinness. Stay away from
Yeah.
anything Bud related. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and
old speckled hen.
let me cross examine your witnesses here. So the two Scobies, very similar. They got the same kind of eye thing going on.
Yeah.
But the problem you're going to have here is that you got one guy serving as an instructor pilot for the shuttle 747 carrier craft. The other guy is going to be the CEO of Cows and Trees, serving as CEO and president of the Marketing Edge Incorporated in Chicago. So this guy apparently had, two jobs at the exact same fucking time? Okay, moving on. You're talking about the two guys, the two black dudes, Ronald and Carl. God for fucking bid, two brothers look like each other. Now, I'm going to go further and say
they were twins, by the way. They were twins, by the way.
Yeah. They're identical twins, except for the fact that Carl has a very noticeable gap between his two front teeth, and his brother, rest in peace, Ronald, didn't have a fucking gap. Honestly, the facial hair on the mustache is a little bit different. I'll take your argument that they could also use a Nair razor and probably shave that into two different styles. But, nah, dude, guy's got a big old gap between his teeth. No disrespect, but enough for me to say it's not the same fucking guy. Moving on to Ellison and Claude Onizuka. Again, God forbid two guys look like each other when they're fucking brothers.
Twins,
I don't think it's a big revelation.
Twins. They were twins.
The part's not the same. Ellison's part is probably about 1.5 inches lower than his brother Claude's. Moving on, let's see here. The lady, I don't know. You could probably confuse each other for one or the other. I'd say the eyes are very much different. And also, Judith, the woman who, again, rest in peace, died in the crash, her nostrils were flared a lot more. Mm-hmm. And then the other lady, the law professor at Yale, her nose is a lot broader. She may have had some work done, but nobody I've ever heard of has ever had a nose job to say, hey, doc, make my nose fatter. Again, no disrespect. It's just really hard for me to believe. Again, let's talk about noses. The Challenger payload specialist versus the Syracuse law professor, Sharon. The older version has a much more pointed nose, similar to that of the Penguin. Again, nobody says, hey, doc, can I come in and get a hook nose? Don't think that happens. Again, no disrespect. I like what you tried to accomplish here. I appreciate it. Lay off the Bud Light. Maybe get a looser fitting hat, and may the entire
wow,
crew.
I mean, you went full Scully on me. Like you're not even you're not even one beer away from Scully. Like you're just like, dude, right there. Wow.
You ever seen the movie Bloodsport?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the point where me, Jean-Claude Van Damme, have you, Bolo, with your head turned to the side, blind, screaming to say Mate. So I'm just waiting for you to say it, man. Just admit defeat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so you know what's funny now, like with technology, is the algorithms, right? So, we were going down like conspiracies and stuff. And so as I'm like researching all these different conspiracies, now my Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok is nothing but like flat earth conspiracies. I'm getting bombarded with all this. It's just unbelievable the amount of videos that I sit there and watch. And then, I mean, after some of them, I have to say, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this one was batshit crazy. This is why I brought it to the table. But
Yeah, it was.
the
Like Matt
fucking
said, the resemblances are very uncanny. I'll give you that
yeah.
for sure. Like they're
But
very similar in appearance.
the Nazi world domination crown, truck stop diner map that was looked like it was drawn by a child. I don't know. That one might have me on the fence.
At an
That's
IHOP, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That guy's blood sugar got too low after his second chicken fry, and he just fucking went to town on that fucking placemat, dude.
yeah.
But
I mean,
I mean, all jokes aside, I think that's what
Asgard is past the ice wall. That's all I gotta say. And there are fucking
Asgard is
Nazis.
just a little past Siberia.
Yeah, it's a little bit past Siberia. You just got to go to the ice wall, baby.
Oh fuck, man. That's the weird thing that's very interesting and makes me curious about all these conspiracy theories is like with the invention of the internet and how it's matured and also de-evolved as well as evolved, like people have so much time on their hands to really craft these interesting narratives and these arguments, and like I fully believe we went to the moon. I don't think that Stanley Kubrick just filmed what we saw on TV. That was my old stance. But now, like, if I have to pick a conspiracy theory that I really want to lean into, I could be convinced that you told me, hey, we really went to the moon, but we were so fucking terrified of fucking this up because, again, NASA's track record, we do a lot of shit
good.
on a shoestring budget with a lot of fucking
Yeah.
duct tape. Yeah, no, we really spit on stuff and try to, hold things together with fucking bubble gum. I think it came so close down to the razor's edge that maybe we did have a fake footage done by potentially Kubrick or somebody else, and maybe that's what got broadcast. Because you can also argue and show me a lot of really compelling, quote, evidence that that shit might have been done in a studio somewhere, in a production studio. But I don't know. If I were to believe we never went to the moon, I'd believe the tangent there next to it that says we went to the moon, but what we saw was a fabricated video. I think that is compelling, and I could be led to believe that maybe that whole thing comes together, and that's the full narrative.
Yeah, there was I can't remember the guy's name. He's the one that got punched out by not Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin.
Buzz Aldrin?
He because he was trying to interview him, so he did a whole book and did a whole like documentary series on like how like NASA is fake, and so his research is really good. But what I think that he proved with all that is that every single time that we shot those guys into outer space, like it was on a hope and a prayer, because like just the technology wasn't that great at the time. Like they had to get the weight down so much on the craft just to get it into outer orbit that thing was like paper thin, and like one little thing went wrong, that whole thing would have exploded. I don't know that we've gotten that much better with that technology. I still think like when they're like, we're going to go to Mars, I don't want to be on that. You know what? Good luck to you. I hope you make it on the right planet, but count me out, dog. Because
that's been the whole thing. Like a lot of people say that if you want to get involved in these missions to Mars and shit, you have to sign a clause that says you understand that you might die, and this then will directly rub against a lot of religious beliefs, especially from people in I'm not going to name any nations, but like some of the beliefs, if you want to go to heaven or go wherever, like you cannot commit suicide. And signing a paper that says, yes, I realize I might die if I get on this ship is kind of willfully saying, yeah, I might be killing myself because I'm getting on a ship that I know might not make it. That's really compelling shit. But the guy you're thinking of is Bart Sibrel, Sibrel. That's the dude that Buzz cold clocked. So yeah, I don't know. That it's crazy shit, but all these conspiracies are really interesting. Some of them I love. Again, as the internet has evolved and we have devolved, there's a fucking conspiracy about everything. Like, I almost sidelined this episode to do a whole episode about the fucking conspiracies that have just come out about the current Olympics right now, because that shit's fucking batshit bonkers too. There's like an Olympic swimmer that's apparently packing heat, like he's got a fucking Pringles can-sized penis that he's trying to hide in his shorts. Apparently some dude got disqualified from pole vaulting, high jumping, because his schlong hit the fucking bar. don't get me started about this female boxer that everybody's talking about, and how like this female boxer is trans and she's really a dude. Like, all this shit's fucking crazy. Then you got this random dude that shows up from Turkey for the shooting competition, and everybody else looks like they're in fucking Tron. And this guy shows up wearing jeans, flip-flops, and a fucking t-shirt, and just stands there and just fucking just pew pew. I got a silver. Awesome, great. Like, this guy's
Claudia, now that I got the silver, I want my fucking dog back, bitch.
Why does he sounds like, what's his name, from Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah. So you know what's interesting? Interesting about the Olympics, and when we talk about. So most of the what's going on right now is genetic anomalies, right? And
sure, everybody has an edge,
right? And they're like 10 years ago. Right, China was buying up geneticists from all over the world. Like, look, you don't have to buy into the CCP. Like, we're gonna pay you X amount of dollars. Just come over here, work for us. Hey, you know what? Fucking everything. Hats off. We don't give a shit what you do. There's no rules, no laws, no regulations. We just want you to like just full on like fuck with genetics, right? Let's see where the science happens.
Yeah.
And they, like, a lot of the genetic companies had like vending machines where you could buy packages and you could go home, and if you were pregnant, early on in the pregnancy, you could alter the genetics of the baby, and you could buy, like, if you wanted like a 6-foot tall basketball player, they had a package for that. If you wanted the hardest soccer kicker in the world, you could buy a package for that. And it was the idea that they wanted to genetically alter the future generations, not only to have like universal soldiers, but they just wanted to dominate and just fucking kick ass in the Olympics and like gold, baby.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's also, everybody's like really, with this boxing, I don't even want to call it a fucking conspiracy. This whole thing's just a debacle, the way people have attacked, the athlete. But, like, it brings up Michael Phelps as well. Like, there's shit about him that supposedly was, he has a genetic edge over people. And it's no fault of his own. Like, he's not taking any kind of steroids and shit. But, like you said, you got people like, God, we're going to fucking probably have the video taken down because I say the word Russia. But wasn't there just like a big hullabaloo several years back about Russia and how they're blood doping and doing a lot of steroidal use amongst all their athletes? And like, there was this whole fucking Mission Impossible thing going on.
That was a Netflix documentary, like Icarus, that like went full.
Yes, thank you. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys want to watch a fucking great documentary that will really just take you in one direction and then hit a hard left, watch the documentary called Icarus. It starts off about a guy who's just trying to see on a whim if maybe as like an amateur cyclist, he might be able to, with the help of a fucking scientist, get past the what would you call that? Like the drug screenings to see if maybe he can purposefully trick the blood screenings to see if he can use steroids. And it fucking takes a hard left. And it's a phenomenal fucking documentary that makes you stop and say, oh my God, all my fucking heroes are liars. It's fucking batshit bonkers, man. Yeah, check out that documentary, Icarus. Coincidentally, that was the show Shayla and I were watching that one night when those people tried to break into my house. So that was a lot of fun. Good shit. Also, while recommending stuff, I would recommend the Ron Perlman film called Moonwalkers. It's a really fun farce about the moon landing and the faking of the moon landing video. It's a fucking blast, so check that shit out. But yeah, I don't know, man. People can look up all that shit they want, but yeah, Russia did some real shady shit, and I'm sure America's probably guilty of it too.
Matt said, you guys are my heroes. Please tell me you're not liars. No. No, we're
not liars, but coincidentally, this is a synchronicity talking. On tonight's WWE SummerSlam, the theme song was Liar by Jelly Roll, and the whole evening was full of nothing but people's partners deceiving them and double-crossing them and turning their backs on them. So it's really creepy that you just said, tell me you guys aren't liars, because that was the entire theme of the evening. But no, sir, no, ma'am, we are not liars, man. We just are two idiots who really like weird shit.
And look, it's not that I believe the Earth is flat. I'm just saying that because the algorithm has been flushing my social media with all these videos, right. I might be on the fence. I mean, I could really. I'm one Budweiser away from being convinced that my whole life is a lie. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
I think a more sober way to say that is, with as compelling as people can make arguments, it's definitely interesting to read all these conspiracy theories and see how some people can be convinced and see the links people go to try to convince people about why they think something is a conspiracy theory. But no, yeah, the Earth is round, buddy.
Yeah.
Or it's halo shaped. Oh, fuck, yeah. I don't know. And the crazy thing is, too, like, all jokes aside, I have some really, really good friends and people that I respect the absolute shit out of, and some of them are flat earthers, and it blows me the fuck away. Is it because they fully believe it? I don't know.
Like 100% flat earthers?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing is, the problem is, if you go on, like, TikTok, and you talk about algorithms, a rabbit hole, you and I both know, will take you in some really fucking weird directions. When you get an algorithm mixed up in there, and it's like, oh shit, Preston's up, it's 4 a.m. He's been on TikTok for 2.5 hours, fucking full throttle, guys, and you're just hit with every fucking video. Yeah, it's easy to fucking get lost in that shit for sure. And like, you know, the biggest fucking argument right now is if you go up in a plane and you fly somewhere and you look out your window, why isn't the horizon bent if it's a round Earth? It's just straight. And I've taken plenty of photos out of an airplane window that say, no, the fucking horizon's round, you know, so I think we're good to go. But I mean, somebody gets a bone and they really just won't let it go. And that's what's so terrifying about not just conspiracy theories, but fucking algorithms too, man. And disinformation, just like this fucking boxing debacle. Like today, I spent 15 minutes on Facebook just looking at people posting shit that was like, oh, there's a man who's boxing. It's a trans man. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not a trans woman either. It's a woman who maybe has more testosterone, like a surprising amount. Yes, she hits a lot harder than another woman. You know, I think there was a whole thing about the person she was boxing, the opponent, like just gave up. Yeah, I might too if I'm getting hit 10 times harder than I anticipated, sure. But yeah, like I believe the boxer comes from a nationality that makes it illegal to be trans as well. And I mean, it would be a much bigger deal for them to try to send a trans individual into a boxing ring to get a gold medal. That would really just do a lot of other horrible things for their belief systems, and they'd go through a lot sharper fucking repercussions. So, I mean, I don't know. That's as far as I want to get into that, but this shit goes crazy, and people fucking believe it, and they start going like just full fucking hog because they saw 3 memes that had a paragraph each telling them why this thing is a certain way. And then nobody does any fucking research, you know? You got people screaming, do your own research, and they're not really doing their own research as it is, man. But
who's the guy that was supposed to fight Mike Tyson?
Logan Paul.
Oh, dude,
Aaron Paul?
I want to get Logan Paul and that lady in a ring together. Fucking 1,000 to 1 on her, dude. I bet she could.
Oh, dude, yeah,
decimate his little fucking punk ass. So,
I know, but you know what? The thing that gets me scared, the guy's fucking built. This fucking Logan Paul. Is it Logan Paul? I just watched one of them wrestle tonight on SummerSlam, and I can't remember. Yeah, Logan Paul, I think, is the boxer, and who's the other guy? Aaron Paul,
his brother.
Aaron Paul's the wrestler. I don't fucking know.
If I can get them both in the ring, dude.
Logan.
Double
Arnold Palmer. Who the fuck are these guys?
That's a drink. A golfer, but you know.
Yeah, Logan Logan Paul, he's got a brother. One's a wrestler and one's a boxer. I don't fucking know. But yeah, man, I was all up for that fucking boxing match, and that shit got derailed. So hopefully in November we'll get to watch it. But I don't know. I really want Tyson just to knock that guy's block off. But also kudos to him because he's in phenomenal shape, and I'm not. So yeah, there's always that. But that guy's a fucking marketing genius, that fucking Paul guy. So he'll just turn it into some kind of fucking gummies or something. Anyway, this is good old-fashioned Pixelated Paranormal. We're well past an hour, and we have gone some places on this episode, baby.
Yeah, hey, look, Japan, I love you. That's all I'm going to say. Just, I don't know.
You should say that at the top.
Yeah, I should. Just do us a favor. As much Japanese folklore and history that we cover, look, the YouTube tells me there's at least 15 national Japanese people listening to this show. Could you just I don't know, send us in some pronunciation help? I mean, do us a favor, unless you're just laughing at us behind our back, which is fine. I like the fact that, it's funny to you. It brings me joy that you're laughing at my stupidity. So
Logan, okay. Matt says Logan and Jake Paul. That's what it is. Yeah. And yeah, dude, the thing is, I think Matt made some comments here about, wanting to see other people's perspectives. I think that's the healthy thing. I was talking to a friend today at work, and they're very much a very religious individual, Christian or whatever. And she was just saying how, she's terrified of TikToks about Baphomet and the Church of Satan and all this kind of stuff. And I just tried to do a real quick little education here, because we don't talk about religion at work, but I was like, there's a difference between a Satan worshiper and a Satanist, and there's this rabbit hole. And she's like, I don't look at any of that shit. If something pops up on TikTok and it's about Baphomet or the devil, I just I sit there and unfollow, block. And I was like, well, I mean, that also breeds ignorance in a way. It's okay to be scared of a thing, but if you're going to speak against it or argue against it or believe the opposite, I think it's healthy to know as much as you can about that topic and learn other perspectives, for sure, right? I don't want to walk into a room and be like, the Earth's not flat, guys, it's round. And then that's my argument. So it's good to learn about that shit. Also, I mean, well-rounded education, it's healthy to be curious, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's all about other perspectives, man. That's how you learn to at least appreciate, if not approve, right? You have to accept things are different. You don't have to approve of them, but I think by learning about them, it helps you at least accept them and be open to them. And you can sit in the same room with somebody who has opposite beliefs. So, like Preston and I, he doesn't think Missy Elliott is worth her weight in salt. I think he's an idiot. I also think Tool's one of the worst bands on the planet, and Preston would probably slap me next time he sees me in person for that.
I mean, my rebuttal to that is this coming from a guy that's seen Dave Matthews 85 times in concert. So tomato.
I think we're going to see them. We got a 2-night event in Colorado coming up in 3 weeks. It's a double nighter. I think it's number 13 and 14 for us. So yeah, but you also you did take me to a Pussifer concert, which was fucking great. Even though some really strange dude next to me had his, arm around my shoulder for half the concert, and I didn't know his fucking name. But apparently that's what you do. You talk about crossing the river, and then you hug each other. No, I think I went for your brother, right? Your brother couldn't go, and I used his ticket. And then Patty went with us as well. Mm-hmm, I think so.
Yeah. Fucking Jason, god damn it.
Yeah. I love the guy. Still want to get a Guinness and a Reuben with him. This is a part of the show where the steam runs out, so we should probably plug some shit and get off of here.
Okay, yeah.
When we start talking about
I got a good one.
Maynard and Rubens.
Yeah. Look, need a beard, want a beard, want to grow the best goddamn beard possible. If you want a wet-ass pussy with a wet-ass beard, go over to BigDobsBeardBomb.com and use promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your order. Pick yourself up some scents like bay rum, fresh, citrus, mint, classic, sweet tobacco. The new one, Spartan, I got it in my beard tonight. That baby will glisten. It'll smell good. And let me tell you what, that will make the pussy indeed wet. Get it all. Get it at Dobbs. Use promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your order. Now look, YouTube, we're up to 316 subscribers. We're up to 27 subscribers on Rumble. Here's the thing. Like, subscribe, Share with all your friends. I was actually looking on YouTube tonight, and our most viewed video is, in fact, up to 4,600 views. It is the what is that? The Spanish? Ooh, the vertical plane. Now, here's the thing: if we can get up to 500 subscribers, okay, I will get on everybody on each of the social media platforms. If we can get up to 500 subscribers, I will pull a random name and I will make you a custom fountain or ballpoint pen with the thumbnail artwork from episode 155, the Vertical Plane Special Edition Pixelated Paranormal merch, handcrafted by me for you. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, motherfuckers. That's what I got.
Yep.
Get it all. Get it in Dobbs.
If you're if you're on Instagram, we are at PXL Paranormal. If you are on Facebook, we are the Pixelated Paranormal Podcast. Again, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting us for all these years. To all the Matts watching, thank each and every one of you guys. We appreciate you all. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for joining us tonight as well. Tell your friends, tell your family, and hell, even tell the Flat Earthers. Yeah. If you're in the Wichita area, stop by, see Leslie and the rest of the gang at CD Trade Post, Pawnee, and Seneca. If you drop in, tell her that Sean and Preston sent you from the show. Check out the Paranormal.cafe and the Paranormal Experience food truck. And with that, I accidentally drank the last bit of this coffee milk stout, so I might lick the inside of this when I say cheers to the weird shit in the world, and those of us love to talk about it.
And stay spooky and stay on the paranormal highway.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. Email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.